What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Assaulting Your Coworkers. As always, I am your host, Zach Cronin, and today we're going to be talking about Draymond Green getting ready to transition into a career in mixed martial arts after he knocked the shit out of Jusuf Nurkic a few nights ago. Before we get into this whole segment, I think that what I really want to address, or what I really want to talk about before everything, is I hope that whatever Draymond Green is going through, he gets the appropriate help. I know Jusuf Nurkic had a comment like that after the game where he said that brother needs help and it led to a creation of a future Hall of Fame graphic. But in all seriousness, like, this is very odd behavior from Draymond Green, even though he did have a tendency to engage in physical acts throughout his career as an NBA player. They were more sparse than they are now. I mean, just within the last couple of weeks, you have him choking out Rudy Gobert. You have him spinning backhand fisting Jusuf Nurkic like he was an anime villain. You have the incident with Jordan Poole where he knocked his fucking block off. You have the incident with Domantas Sabonis where he stepped on his chest. There is something going on, I feel like. And Kevin Durant mentioned that as well. He was asked after the game how he felt about the whole situation, and he said that that is not the Draymond Green that he knew when he was in Golden State. And, you know, that was Draymond Green was just as fiery, just as passionate. Like, he had gotten into it with Kevin Durant before, but things just seem different now. There are some different tones that you can take with this conversation. There is the comedic element of it with the memes coming out. There is a more serious side of it as well, and I think that's kind of what I want to touch on here with that. But for anyone who doesn't know, during the game that the Golden State Warriors played against the Phoenix Suns, Jusuf Nurkic and Draymond Green were jostling for position, and Draymond Green knocked out Jusuf Nurkic.
Oh, man.
Well, that's going to be a flagrant.
Yep, for
and
sure.
now they're going to just try to decide
I mean, there
if
is
they think it was
no
excessive.
angle on this where it doesn't look insane. It was worthy of a flagrant 2. It was worthy of him getting ejected. The big thing in the aftermath of this was how the NBA was going to punish Draymond Green, and since then it has been announced that he will be serving an indefinite suspension that has him faced with completing various tasks to get back to play, largely associated with counseling. I'm sure there's something with anger management in there as well. But this is not funny anymore. It's exasperating almost. It's one of the few times where the NBA fans online and in real life are in agreement with everything, and that it's that Draymond Green is out of control and something needs to be done about this guy. I'm not saying that you kick him out of the league. I do think that the steps that the NBA is taking now is a good start, but I will have a significantly different view on that if a couple weeks go by and it's only been 8 games and Draymond is back with the team. I think that 10, 15, 20 games minimum is, or, you know, I'm thinking more along the lines of 10 to 15. I don't really know about 20 at this point. There is really no precedent for this. And since there is no precedent for this, the NBA could have gone in multiple directions. There was some reluctance on the behalf of Joe Dumars, who has a close relationship with Draymond Green, where folks thought that the punishment wouldn't have been severe enough. Again, I think that this is a perfectly appropriate punishment depending on how long indefinitely is. This is a issue that needs to be tackled with the appropriate repercussions, because Draymond Green not only is a detriment to his team when he does stuff like this, and the basketball aspect of it I'll dive into in a little bit, but you cannot go around punching your colleagues. Like, there's no occupation outside of combat sports where it's okay to assault your coworkers. If you work on a construction site, if you work in a restaurant, and obviously, you know, these aren't like one-to-one comparisons, but the the dynamic is still there. If you work a normal job, you may be heated at certain times, especially if you work in the service industry, if you work in the retail industry, if you work in a high stress environment like NBA players do, you may have the urge to lash out at somebody, but it's not okay. It is dangerous. Fortunately, Nurk was okay. He didn't go to the hospital or anything. He was even joking after the game that he's glad he didn't get choked out. But it just gets to a point where the league has to look out for the betterment of everybody else. There are talks that the players union is going to fight this decision, but I don't know how hard they're going to fight it because the players union represents the entirety of the players. It doesn't just represent Draymond Green. And even more to that point, you're not talking about Draymond Green back in 2018, 2019, when the Warriors were the best team in the league, entirely unstoppable, the envy of everybody. No, the Warriors, as it stands right now, look like shit. Draymond Green looks washed. Klay Thompson looks washed. The only guy keeping this team even remotely competitive is Steph Curry. So the players union is going to have to weigh like how many resources they want to allocate to this, because this is not something that the league should take lightly. This is not an instance that the league should be, lenient with the punishment, especially when you have a repeat offender in Draymond Green, who is not only abusive, who is not only physically abusive towards his teammates, but also his opponents. You cannot have this going on. You don't know how the rest of the players are going to feel around Draymond Green. They don't have to be buddy, but you shouldn't be fearful of somebody when you're at work, but also when you're playing a game. Basketball is a game. I understand it's competitive and these guys want to win and it's their livelihoods, but at the end of the day, you're playing a game. You're getting paid a very handsome amount of money to play a game. And I know there are certain guys in the NBA who have that view. Damian Lillard, a couple years ago, he was asked about the pressures of winning, and he said there is no pressure in being an NBA player because you don't have to worry about putting food on the table. You don't have to worry about putting clothes on your children's backs. You're not a single mom working a triple shift to put food on the table, but you don't want the rest of the league to feel weird or to feel some type of way around Draymond Green. In the aftermath of the incident, Draymond Green gave a bullshit apology. I'm going to be honest. I'm not like staunchly defended Draymond Green, but his actions, as a lot of fans tend to do, you overlook guys being douchebags on the court when they're a part of a dominant organization. It's just something you do. It's wrong when he kicks Steven Adams in the nuts, but you don't really say anything of it because that's something that he does because he's passionate and he's fiery. But I'm over it. I'm sick of Draymond Green. I don't like watching this guy anymore. He doesn't bring anything to the table outside of his energy. I understand what he does as a defensive player, but we can't overlook these actions anymore. It's frustrating. I mentioned in the intro, it's exasperating that there is a chance that 1 in 5 Warriors games is going to have an incident where he gets ejected, where he picks up 2 technicals, where he is a little too touchy with somebody, where he doesn't know where that line is. I was watching Stephen A. I was watching Michael Wilbon talk about this, some other guys as well, about how there is a potential sense of entitlement from Draymond Green. I understand where they're coming from. I don't necessarily know if it is entitlement by definition, but we know that NBA players, once they reach a certain stature in the league, once they are one of the more recognizable names in the league, they do feel like they are untouchable, whether it be how they're officiated, whether it be how they talk to the officials. As we know, that's a huge one. Certain guys have more leeway with the officials, but Draymond Green has taken that benefit of the doubt and thrown it into a volcano, and is almost intentionally, because there is absolutely no fucking way that you're trying to sell a call in the way that he did. People are like,
oh my God, Nurkic had his hands on his hips and was preventing him from getting position.
So he hits him with a spinning back fist. What sort of mental gymnastics are you doing to reach that justification? Now, to be fair, those types of responses are few and far between, but he gave a half-baked apology after the game. I don't know if anyone from the Warriors has actually condemned this behavior. I know Steve Kerr said something along the lines of Draymond knows that we need him, but his ass has been covered by the Warriors for so long. Every time there's been an incident like this, they've been by his side. It's like, oh, that's the passion that we need to energize us, bring something to the locker room. And yeah, it might bring something to the locker room, but your team is dog shit now. This team, the Warriors are 10-13. They're 7-8 in the 15 games that Draymond is in the lineup. This is not working. There are systemic issues within the Warriors game plan and within the Warriors organization that has led to them being among the worst teams in the Western Conference. The fascinating part, however, is if Draymond had not gotten ejected, we are talking about the Warriors in an entirely different. You could argue that if he doesn't get ejected, they win against Phoenix, they win against Minnesota, and they win against Cleveland. He got ejected for picking up two technicals in I think it was on the November 11th game against the Cavaliers. Golden State lost all three of those games. So now you go from being potentially 10-5 to 7-8 with Draymond in the lineup. He means a lot to them in a basketball sense, but it's not worth it at this point. It's just not fun to watch guys being overtly physical with this physicality that isn't natural to the game of basketball. If you watch this playback, what Draymond and Nurk are doing is a normal basketball play. You have two bigs fighting to establish position somewhere on the court. Did Nurkic foul Draymond Green? Potentially, he did, but it wasn't officiated. And instead, Draymond retaliates with a non-basketball play. It's like they were in a street fight. It's like he sucker punched Jusuf Nurkic because he accidentally put his hand on him as he was trying to skate around him, walking across the bar. It's just, man, I'm sick of it. I never thought I'd be at a place where I would be talking about I'm sick of Draymond Green, because from everything that you see of him on the outside, he seems like a nice guy. Off the court, he seems nice, he's funny, he's charismatic, he's intelligent, he's all of these things, but then he gets onto the court and it's almost as if he's unable to regulate his emotions, because he is consistently flying off the handle. He is consistently having these outbursts, which again, a lot of NBA players do. We've seen Kevin Durant get heated, we've seen LeBron get heated, we've seen Steph fling his mouthpiece once or twice, but the amount of incidents that those guys have does not compare to what Draymond Green has done within this past calendar year alone. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. Again, I mentioned in the intro that I hope that if Draymond Green is dealing with something, he seeks out the appropriate help, whether it's stuff going on beyond the basketball court, whether it is him being unable to cope with the Warriors' erosion within the last couple of seasons. I just hope that for the sake of everybody else and also for the sake of himself, that he gets the appropriate help. Maybe that requires him being away from basketball for a little bit, but even if you were to take the rest of the season off and then come back for 2024, 2025, it would be a success if he takes all that time off and comes back refreshed, in control of himself. I think that would be good for him, for the Warriors, and for the league overall. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and close this video. I thank you guys so very much for coming to hang out with me today. My protein shake would also like to say thank you. As always, everything I'm associated with is down in the description box below. Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Subscribe to the channel. Leave a like on this video. If you enjoyed it, drop a comment as well. It really helps out with the algorithm. And with that, I'll catch y'all on the next one.